Ever felt like a fight about money wasn't really about the money at all? I've been there. My story starts with what seemed like a simple disagreement over a budget. My partner and I were planning our future, and we decided to merge our finances. It felt like the next logical step, a sign of our commitment. At first, it was fine. We set up a joint account, created a spreadsheet, and talked about our goals, saving for a house, traveling, maybe starting a family someday. It all sounded so perfect, so adult. But then the small cracks started to appear. It began with little things: a purchase he made without telling me, a comment I made about his spending habits. Each one was a tiny jab, a small spark of irritation. We'd have these tense conversations that always ended with one of us saying, "It's just money, let's not fight about it." But it was never just about the money. I see a charge for a fancy dinner with his friends and feel a sting of resentment. It wasn't about the amount. It was about the feeling that my priorities, our shared goals, weren't being respected. He'd get defensive, saying he deserved to enjoy his hard-earned money. The argument started to escalate. Our budget spreadsheet became a battlefield. Each line item was a potential landmine. His subscription boxes versus my weekly yoga class. His new gadget versus my savings transfer. We were keeping score, not with dollars, but with a silent tally of perceived slights and sacrifices. The conversations became circular and exhausting. "Why do you always have to control everything?" he'd ask. "Why can't you be more responsible?" I'd shoot back. We were speaking different languages, and the translator had left the building. One night, it all came to a head. We were arguing about a major purchase he wanted to make, a new car. It was completely outside our agreed-upon budget. The argument wasn't just loud. It was ugly. Words were used that we couldn't take back. I accused him of being selfish and reckless. He accused me of being a controlling killjoy who didn't trust him. And in that moment, hearing that word trust, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. He was right. I didn't trust him. And it wasn't just about money. That fight was a turning point. We were both so hurt and exhausted that we just stopped talking. The silence was heavy, filled with unspoken resentments. I spent the next few days in a fog. I replayed our fights over and over, trying to understand where we went so wrong. I realized that the financial disagreements were just symptoms of a much deeper problem. The money was a stand-in for everything else, for trust, for respect, for power, for our different values and expectations about what a partnership should be. I had tied my sense of security so tightly to our shared financial plan that any deviation felt like a personal attack. I was trying to control our finances because, deep down, I felt like I had no control over the direction our relationship was heading. My need for a detailed budget wasn't just about fiscal responsibility. It was a cry for predictability and safety in a relationship that was starting to feel very unsafe. He, on the other hand, felt suffocated. For him, spending money was a form of freedom and self-expression. My attempts to control the budget felt like an attempt to control him. He saw my spreadsheets not as a tool for our future, but as a cage. This realization was painful, but it was also incredibly liberating. It was time to stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. I decided to take a step back and focus on myself. I started journaling, just pouring out all the messy thoughts and feelings I'd been suppressing. I wrote about my fears, my childhood experiences with money, and what security really meant to me. I realized my desire for control stemmed from a deep-seated fear of instability that had nothing to do with my partner. I also started reading books on financial therapy and relationship dynamics. I learned about financial infidelity, different money personalities, and how our family histories shape our financial behaviors. It was eye-opening. I wasn't just a saver, and he wasn't just a spender. We were two people with complex emotional histories, trying to merge our lives without ever really understanding the baggage we were each carrying. Armed with this new self-awareness, I knew we needed to have a different kind of conversation. This time, not about budgets or spreadsheets, but about our feelings. I approached him not with accusations, but with vulnerability. I started by apologizing for my part in our conflict, for trying to control him through our finances. I explained my fears without blaming him for them. I told him, when you make a big purchase without talking to me, it's not the money that upsets me. It's that it makes me feel like my opinion doesn't matter, like we're not a team. To my surprise, he didn't get defensive. He listened, and then he opened up too. He talked about how his family always struggled with money and how being able to buy things now made him feel successful and worthy. He admitted that he sometimes spent impulsively to avoid feeling deprived, a feeling that haunted him from his childhood. He said my constant monitoring of our accounts made him feel like a child, like he wasn't trusted to be a capable adult. It was the most honest conversation we had ever had. We weren't talking about dollars and cents. We were talking about fears, dreams, and our deepest insecurities. We decided to separate our finances for a while, not as a step toward breaking up, but as a way to give each other space to breathe and regain a sense of individual autonomy. We each took responsibility for our personal expenses, and we contributed a set amount to a joint account for shared bills like rent and utilities. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start. The tension in our home dissipated almost immediately. Without the shared spreadsheet to fight over, we started to see each other again, not as financial adversaries, but as the people we fell in love with. We started having regular money dates, but with new rules. No spreadsheets allowed. We'd talk about our personal financial wins, our goals for the future, and how we could support each other in achieving them. We talked about what security and freedom meant to each of us, and how we could build a life that honored both. This journey taught me that true financial intimacy isn't about merging bank accounts. It's about understanding and respecting each other's emotional relationship with money. It's about building trust, setting healthy boundaries, and communicating with empathy and vulnerability. It's about realizing that you're on the same team, even when you have different playing styles. Today, my partner and I are in a much better place. We still have our separate accounts, and it works for us. We found a system that allows for both individual freedom and shared responsibility. The financial conflict forced us to confront the real issues in our relationship, and in doing so, it made us stronger, both as individuals and as a couple. I found a sense of internal peace that doesn't depend on a spreadsheet, and I learned that the most valuable asset you can have in any relationship isn't money, it's understanding. If you're going through something similar, know that you're not alone. These conversations are hard, but they're so necessary. Maybe it's time to put the budget aside for a minute and have a real conversation about what is underneath it all. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content on navigating life's challenges.